Well, Lior, let's start off. The first 10 years of your life were spent in Israel.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
It was just a pretty happy Mediterranean kind of upbringing, you know, lots of playing football and, you know, just like sunshine. It was good. I had a good, happy kind of, you know, it was just community, you know, Mediterranean community kind of thing.
What town was it?
It's a town called Rishon LeZion, which is on the coast, sort of a bit south of Tel Aviv.
But what kind of people are living there? Expats, or what kind of town is it?
No, it's just, you know, it's one of the big cities and just a really, you know, diverse. And I mean, the great thing about Israel, it's so multicultural. Like, you know, you've just got people that have come in from, you know, Morocco and Yemen and Poland. And so it's kind of like, it's a pretty interesting place to live.
I can imagine that when you're moving at the age of 10, that can have quite an impact because you have to leave behind a lot.
I think, you know, I think 10 to 12 is kind of the threshold. I think I had an older brother and sister and they were older and they found it very difficult. But I think for me it was just excited about going. I mean, Australia was like the furthest place in the world pretty much, and just, you know, I just had, you know, my eyes opened. And so the first few years in Australia were actually okay. It was sort of exciting. I think that then a few years later you kind of go, you start wondering about, I sort of miss that, you know, but no, Australia's, you know, it's a good place, and it's laid back, and again it's multicultural, and it's a new country, so you don't feel foreign there. I think you kind of, yeah, it's still a pretty welcoming and open country. So it was a good place to move, I think.
Why did your parents decide to move in the first place?
They moved to Israel when it was, you know, only a few years old as a country, and I think they were quite idealistic, and I think they were becoming quite disillusioned with where it was politically, where it was heading. They're pretty progressive and liberal in their views, and I think they just thought that it was time to explore somewhere else in the world. You know?
Have you discussed with them the events that led up to the move, the things that they were disillusioned by?
Yeah, I did, and that's why I say, you know, I think that, so, you know, we moved just before the Intifada happened, and, you know, and I think that they had some, you know, problems with that, and where the country was headed, and felt there was a loss of ideology in many ways. So yeah, I've discussed it with them. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with their views, political views. It's sort of hard not to be when you come from Israel.
Is that still a thing that comes up? Yeah, it comes up now. So it comes up always when you're talking to your family or.
I think we're pretty like-minded in our views. So, you know, we talk about it, but there's within the family there's very rarely a clash of political views. I think that's when it can get kind of tricky in families, you know. But luckily for my family, it's like we're pretty like-minded. And
back then, was Australia welcoming strangers into their country? Because now it seems like they're a bit holding back,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, definitely. Things have changed, yeah. I think it was the late 80s, and Australia was much more open. To become an immigrant was a lot easier. Things have really changed, and it's probably one of the main things on the political agenda now is the treatment of refugees, and you know, that we're, as a country, we're not as welcoming as we should be.
Yeah, same here. We know what it's like. Where are you living now?
I now live in Melbourne. Yeah, I most of my time I grew up in Sydney, but a few years ago moved to Melbourne.
Why was that?
My wife. But Melbourne's a cool city as well. It's probably the artistic and cultural capital of Australia, so it's been good.
And did you discover your musicality in Israel already, or was that later?
I moved, yeah, when I was 10, like you said, and I had one guitar lesson. I remember really wanting to play guitar. I had one guitar lesson, and then we moved. So technically, yes, but you know, but I really picked up the guitar and started playing when I was about 11 in Australia, and then sort of a few years later, kind of discovered singing, and that was when it was like, whoa, this is for me, and started songwriting.
Who encouraged you most, or was it yourself? encouraging?
Yeah, I'm not from a musical family, so it was, I don't know why, but I think I just remember being really touched by music in a way that was beyond anything else that, you know, I experienced. And when I started singing, that feeling of being able to escape, I think was just, I really held on to that. I was like, I want to be good at that. I wasn't good initially, so I just used to sing a lot and annoy a lot of people, but yeah.